I have received word of a strange invention. What it can do will amaze man and strike terror in the world.
Hello everybody, welcome back to this. Hello everybody, welcome back to my art show where we talk about art and definitely not politics. Oh, that's so strong. Woo. Go on with it. After being rattled by World War I, Russia finally picked up on Cubism and Futurism. Little refresher, Cubism is the art movement's first push at abstract. Futurism is abstract imagery used to create sound and movement, like give a voice to imagery. Russia began to develop some experience in using Cubism and Futurism. They would use these methods to create propaganda towards the government. For example, to illustrate the poverty in peasant society, they would use materials found off the streets, materials that you couldn't just buy in stores. They would use those materials and they would create a little narrative within the medium. Founded by Kazimir Malevich with a heavy focus on the beliefs that we should detach ourselves from the material world, suprematism is a movement focused on two things. One, pure feeling, as the reasoning behind its name is the supremacy of pure feeling or perception in the pictorial arts. As Kazimir Malevich would put it, art is a spiritual experience that lives outside the needs of society. And two, approaching the 0 degree of abstract. Meaning to reach the limit of abstraction without taking away the fact that what you're creating is a piece of art and not just nonsense. They achieved this by resorting to color and shape. There's a quote, quote, break the umbilical cord that ties the artist to the traditional arts, end quote. Now, the movement had popular motives such as the square, the circle, and the cross. Apart, they are very simple, but like music, the way these artists use these shapes, they express themselves as a symphony. Suprematism was also expressed through architecture. Since the focus was not like to use art as a sort of other, like outside of your body experience, that would also apply to sculptures and architecture. There would be architecture that would be built for the sole sake of being a piece of art. In 1924, when Stalinism was booming, aka communist alert, the artistic freedom of suprematism and their non-materialistic beliefs were shut down. Oh my god. Catfight. Oh my god, this is happening on film! So, in short, the suprematists, they believed in pure, like expressing pure feeling in the most abstract possible way. They detached themselves from society in place of expression. And definitely inspired by Cubism. 1913, constructivism. half politics, half aesthetic. As opposed to the suprematism movement, constructivism had a strict focus on purpose. All right? That's the big word, purpose. They want to create art with purpose. But instead of creating art with purpose, they wanted to build art. They wanted to construct art. Instead of art coming from a feeling, constructivists believed in constructing art as you would a building, all right? You would take your pieces and your blueprints and you would put together a machine. For example, if you were to take the previous motives of suprematism, the line, the shape, and the circle, the square, and the cross, and you would take a few pictures, you would take a message, and then you mix them together and art with purpose. Another more common example that's like, you guys probably know about it. The Wizarding World of Harry Potter. It's an architectural example of constructivism. It is artistic architecture with purpose. Alright? Hogwarts being built in a theme park. Theme parks in general. It is an interaction that you would make with the artwork itself as a consumer. And that's really important. A consumer and the artwork. Consumer interaction with the artwork. You could say that most of art these days is influenced by constructivism, as art is usually just made for the purpose of selling something by proxy. Hence, the complete opposite of suprematist values, where art is separate from society and completely denounces the non-material beliefs of suprematism. God, this stuff is... L. Lissitzky, the grandfather to constructivism, who used mathematical and structural principles of his architectural career as a basis to his art. Lissitzky traveled to post-war Germany, particularly Berlin, in means of meeting members of the Futurist movement, the Constructivism movement, the Bauhaus movement, and etc. Berlin was a meeting grounds for Eastern and Western advances in the early 1920s. He had the resources of excellent German printing facilities, and he had support from the Russian government, who offered official encouragement, meaning his work was published on an international trilingual scale in a magazine called Object. Lissitzky's work, being the grandfather to constructionism, he formed the basis of visual communication to a consumer. He later wrote the Isms of Art in 1924, which was basically the Kama Sutra for graphic designers. This is extremely important to note because this is a big turn in the world of graphic design, because due to constructivism there was a more strong focus on visual communication to clients and consumers. Like, art was not used as a source of expression in constructivism. It was used as a way, like a means of purpose, either to send a message, to sell something. It has purpose. And this book, it introduced a lot of forms of visual communication that we use these days, and since visual communication was its prime focus, hence the strong growth of graphic design, aka visual communication, gotta stress that, it led to a legacy of graphic excellence. Now, let's talk about the style, aka the style. It's Dutch. Launched in the Netherlands, founded by Theo van Doesburg. They strive to search for the ultimate simplicity, the ultimate abstraction. Straight horizontal, straight vertical lines, rectangular forms, red, yellow, and blue, string together to achieve balance without symmetry, focusing on creating balance through contrast. It was obviously inspired by Cubism. Due to the Netherlands not fighting in World War I, the Polish artists, they were isolated from the world. They were separate from a fast growth of art occurring in Paris. So they created this whack new style. And to call the style a movement is nothing. It's in the name itself. De style. De style. Let me say it faster. De style, de style, de style, de style. The style, the style. The style. It's not a movement as it is just a style. But the reason we're talking about it right now is because it pushed abstraction even further than suprematists could strive to do. The Schroeder House is a great example of de styles used in architecture. Since the whole style is focused on strict horizontal and vertical lines, you basically end up with Fisher-Price Minecraft house, alright? But unfortunately, de style died with Theo van Doesburg. It was like a fan fiction of Cubism. Like, the whole movement was just this guy's personal enterprise.
There he is. That's the guy.
Stay out of my territory.
In conclusion to this video, there are some main points I'd like to focus on, and while de style focused a lot on the abstract, like how far you can push the abstract aspect of artwork, supremacism and constructivism, while in constructivism, the art you create is interacting with the real world and consumers. In suprematism, your art is interacting with yourself and your feelings, and it doesn't interact with the real world. Cheers to that. This thing's gonna keep me awake all night.